You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
And away we go. Game number 2 just around the corner. The Battle of Ontario. It's Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill. The Tuesday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. Rosie, you've been gone for a couple days. How are you keeping, buddy?
What is going on, man? That game one, you broke it down with Eddie Belfour last night, or yesterday, sorry. Good to see that. But, man, we're right in the thick of playoffs. Last night's highlights were pretty unreal, and it's game time again tonight. I am pumped, dude. I'm really into this one.
Yeah, this series has been, I think, so far so good. Lived up to expectation. I mean, game 1 I thought was awesome. The atmosphere was great. I mean, you even got chanting out of the Scotiabank Arena faithful. You don't very often get that, so I'll take that. But there's reason for optimism in this market right now, I would say. Eh?
I would say, man, again, I put out a video after Sunday night's game, kind of just touching on the fact that I didn't know what to expect. Again, we've seen what we've seen in the regular season. That's fine. We know this team's kind of been a little different in the playoffs. Wanted to see what they looked like. I thought game 1 would say a lot. And, man, they look like they're on point. They look like they're doing the right things. They look like they're in the right mind frame. But, you know, the big boys are stepping in. The depth stepping in. The D-men are stepping in. The goalie, it was just like, yeah, everything that we like about this team seemed to be apparent during game 1. Doesn't mean everything, but again, with their post-game comments and whatnot, they're saying the right things. So it's a big one tonight. We'll see if they can continue. But again, like you said, there's a lot of reasons for optimism around this market.
Certainly, and there was a level of professionalism that we haven't seen in the Stanley Cup playoffs very often from the Maple Leafs, and that's why I think a lot of fans have grabbed hold of this team and really taken direction. But again, tonight's a fresh new game, a different game, maybe officiated a bit differently. That's been a big narrative out of Ottawa the last couple of days. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. Man, I just love this time of year, the unpredictability. Even watching the games last night, Dallas finds a way. No Heiskanen, no Robertson. Colin Blackwell, former Toronto Maple Leaf, wins it in OT. Landeskog takes the warm-up, doesn't play in that game. And then the Oilers, I'll be quite frank with it, man. I had the Oilers money line in that game. I was smiling, grinning ear to ear. They come back in the 3rd period, and then another diarrhea fart from Skinner there. I don't know, a Tim Wakefield knuckleball, and that's the game winner. Ilya Samsonov vibes on that goal, but man, just crazy stuff last night.
Unprovoked attack on poor Ilya there. But yeah, lots of fireworks in the playoffs. Edmonton, oh my God. Like, do you have to score 7 to win a game in the playoffs? It's absolutely unbelievable. You look at the frustration on Draisaitl's face, and it's like you can't get this guy a goalie in the last how many years. It blows my mind. But lots of fireworks, and I imagine tonight, I'm curious to see how Ottawa's going to come out tonight. What's their strategy going to be? Sometimes if game 1 doesn't go your way, you come out and you just hit everything that moves and like throw the kitchen sink at them. But they kind of adopted that in game 1 and paraded to the penalty box. So I'm not sure what their deal is going to be tonight or how they're going to look at it. But I think with the Leafs, they're going to say, let's just do the same damn thing and you know, cover all of our bases and just don't change anything, but be prepared. It's playoff hockey, man. But I'm curious to see what Ottawa's vibe is going to be like at the drop of the puck here.
I saw a funny quote from Chris Tanev from the morning skate where they asked him like what changes they're going to make. And he's like, we don't want to tell them what we're doing, essentially just playing the gamesmanship, man. It just continues. But man, like, obviously you're not here, but like there's just so much. It's so weird. There's a lot of calmness right now, not only from the team, what they're portraying, the fan base, dude. I haven't seen this in a long time where there's like, we're not cocky, but we're really, really comfortable and confident right now, I think, in the market.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think, like I keep saying, they've got so many boxes checked. And I mean, usually you go through the Rolodex of, you know, things that transpired in game 1. And a lot of times there's like, but. And there's a bunch of reasons to say like that. Like, I'm not sure if this is, you know, conducive to winning the series or if this is whatever it is. And here it's just like, boys are rolling. A lot of things seem to be squared away. I'm not terrified of this happening. I'm not terrified of that happening. Like, again, from the back end right up, and the way they're coached and the system and the style they play, like I think, yeah, I agree with you. This market should be fairly positive right now, but not overly confident, not with their head in the clouds. Like sometimes this market gets accused of that as well, but I don't think that's going on. It's just nice and calm and confident. It's amazing, man. I have not felt this before. And I think there's good reason for it. The team looks good, and they have a long ways to go. They've got one game won, but I feel confident they can do that every night. It's not like they did anything wild where it's like, yeah, but you can't expect that every night. They just played a nice sound hockey game and seem to be fairly in control. I'd like to see them not get outshot quite so much. But I mean, man, I'm grasping at straws there.
Yeah. Empty calorie shots. Let's be frank about that.
Agreed.
I've been saying this for a couple of days. In essence, we saw the Maple Leafs against the Boston Bruins, but the roles were reversed, man. Just shots on the perimeter, didn't get to the dirty areas. And who got to the dirty areas? The team that won the hockey game. Now, Rosie, personally, I think the Battle of Ontario hits differently in the social media era. And we're talking a lot about everything happening on the ice. We got to talk about what's going on off the ice and just the war between the fan bases. And you're in the thick of things, man. You got a message for Sens Nation on today's show?
Oh, I don't know. They're about as bad as I've seen. I thought the Montreal Canadiens fans were an eye roller, but these Sens fans are something else. Obviously, they're talking about the penalties like galore, thinking about dives. They're bringing up OEL, like when he got kind of cross-checked and the clapper was coming from the point and he covers his head. He thinks a slap shot's coming right to his back of his neck, and they acted like that was him trying to embellish. Like, they're not real bright, I'll be honest. I'm kind of in shock at the way they're handling themselves, but totally butthurt about the game one loss. And honestly, focus up for game two. Obviously, they're not the players on Twitter, but it's funny to watch them melt down over a single game loss instead of being like, preparing for the second game, thinking what they can do better, thinking about what went wrong. They're just melting down. It's only been one game. It makes me kind of laugh because I think the Leafs fans get accused of that quite a bit, but seem to be in control and in the driver's seat on the ice and on the Twitter machine as well.
It's really weird, man. It's like a role reversal. Like, there's a calmness in Toronto and there's a sense of nerves with the Ottawa Senators. And we saw that before the series with their fans. They were just beaking, and that's all I can see in my algorithm on X is just like Sens fan chirping everything on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Maple Leafs fan just pretty much leaving it alone. And sometimes that's what you need to do in support of sick kids. Leaf Hype, thank you so much for the super chat. This is how the other Atlantic Division champions felt. That's a good point. When you win the division, you are the better team, at least on paper, and you've proved it throughout the season. And that's why there's a bit of confidence and swagger to this Maple Leafs team right now, Rosie.
Yeah, I think so. To be the favorite and to have home ice and to be the one seed, it's there's reason for it, right? You won that over a pretty large sample size. You proved that you are here. They are there. We talk about the parity in the NHL all the time. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean there's not upsets all the time. That doesn't mean the number one seed is going to win the Stanley Cup every single time. In fact, that's rare. But it doesn't seem like we're chasing. It doesn't seem like we're hoping. Think of that stunned look on their face all the time in other series where it's just like, these guys are kind of lost. Like, they don't feel like they're in the driver's seat. It doesn't feel like they're confident. It doesn't feel like they're in control of anything. These individual efforts that, don't amount to anything. And you're watching going, oh boy, we are a ways away from this one. And it feels like the total opposite as far as game one was concerned. There's a lot of reason to feel good about the outfit and the team and the way they handled themselves. Again, they have to do it tonight. You could come and lay an egg in round two, but I don't get any sense that they're being overconfident or that they think this is going to be a cakewalk. Again, all the things that you want to see, they seem to be portraying, and they're in a good spot. But, you got 60 minutes of hockey coming up here tonight, and you got to do it again.
You do, and personally, I think it comes from the top down, and that's Craig Berube and just what he's been preaching all season long with this hockey club. But we'll see ultimately what's in store here for Game 2 of the Battle of Ontario. With playoff hockey officially here, make sure to rep your favorite team in style this spring. Head on over to nationgear.ca. That's nationgear.ca right now to buy your very own Now We Go playoff tee. There's 3 different colors. I'm wearing the white one as you see on your screen right now. So nationgear.ca for that. Leafs Nation, it's playoff time. We're going big. The Leafs Nation is teaming up with Greta Bar YYZ to bring you the ultimate playoff watch parties and you're invited. Every single game, come cheer on the blue and white with the TLN crew at Greta, our go-to spot for all things game night. We're talking massive screens, surround sound, game day food, and drink specials, and that electric fan energy you just can't get anywhere else. We're going live with TLN pregame tonight, after dark, every game day as well, plus giveaways, trivia, and everything you need to turn game night into a full-on Leafs party. To book your spot today, check out gretabar.com or the Open Table app. But we got lots planned for tonight. I'm going to kick off the pregame show coming up at 6:30. Going to do it for a couple minutes, then hand things over to Zach before I head down to game 2. And don't forget the Leafs Nation After Dark as well. Rosie, I believe you're going to hop on there, right?
I think so. We'll break it down, and hopefully the vibes are the same as they were on Sunday, but me and Zachy Boy will get into it. I popped in. That was post-game on Sunday where KPG was on. It's too funny to hear the guys' names all the time. They're jumping in on super chats and the chat and everything else, and to see him in the flesh is great to see. And he was an animated dude, man. I was loving it. So we'll see what we get after the game tonight.
Yeah, we have a strong connection to our listenership, our viewership, and that's the best part of this job. And speaking of strong connection, every time we can get a former teammate of Jay Rosehill, we're going to do so. Thomas Kaberle, first time ever on today's podcast. Can't wait for this, Rosie.
Kaba, yeah, one of the great ones, man. He goes back to, the real battle of Ontario's that happened in the early 2000s. He was a big part of that. Stellar defenseman, great guy. It's fun to reach out to him, get him on the show. He said he's listened before and likes what we do. So I'm not sure what he's heard, but we're excited to have him on tonight.
Love to hear that. In support of Sick Kids, JD Anderson, thank you so much for the super chat. More than anything, I feel the Leafs deflated the Sens after game 1. Agree or disagree? P.S. Eddie giving Nick's brow game a run for their money. By the way, I got to mention, this is a colossal mistake on my part. We had Eddie Belfour on yesterday. I guess, I don't know. I don't really Google people when I have them on, but it was his 60th birthday, Eddie Belfour. So happy belated 60th birthday to Eddie Belfour. Didn't even realize it. The guy's so humble, didn't even mention it on the show yesterday either.
Whatever, man. You're 60. You're not 10. I don't think his feelings are going to be too hurt. But it's kind of an odd thing that it was his 60th birthday. Too bad we didn't mention it, but easy to miss. No big deal. Eddie the Eagle, I don't think he minds.
That was a lot of fun at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Your motorhome or travel trailer, isn't just for getaways. It's a moneymaker on wheels. Most RVs sit parked in the driveway. With RV Easy, you can rent out your motorhome or travel trailer and earn over $20,000 this year. Founded, owned, and operated by Canadians, RV Easy takes care of everything, including full insurance coverage provided for every rental. And best of all, you choose when to rent and set your own pricing. List your RV for free today at RVEZY.com. That's RVEZY.com. RV Easy, rent your RV, make money easy. We're getting set for game 2 here, Rosie. The Leafs lead this series 1-0. And a sigh of relief after Anthony Stolarz missed practice yesterday due to rest. Here we go, man.
Oh, man. Look, if you're the starter and you're playing in those games, you do whatever you want. Like, it's a different vibe in the playoffs where, like, I don't know, there's a little, you be first on the ice and last off and this and that, and you kind of got to do things the right way and be there for the optional. And the whole season long, like, there's expectations for certain guys, X, Y, Z, whatever. Come playoffs, do whatever you need to do to be ready, and that is most apparent with the starting goalie. So, I mean, people are going to pick apart every little thing. He could, who knows what the stuff they could get into, but he wanted to stay off the ice and he chose to do so in order to feel best for tonight's game. Feel free to do whatever you want, Stoli. Just keep playing your game the way you have all season long. But yeah, this time of year, people are going to hyper analyze every little thing about the team, which, whatever, it's playoffs, man.
Oh, you're telling me Anthony Stolarz makes 31 saves in game 1, and producer Vic was just, he thought there was another level for Stoli to get to. Didn't like the way he corralled, or the lack thereof, on the first goal. Wasn't a big fan. And that's the consensus with Leafs Nation, man. People are like, oh, here we go. Playoffs, different story. But I thought Stolarz, different pockets in that game where he stepped up large, and the timeliness of the saves is what stood out for me, Rosie.
Yeah, and we could ask Hutz to kind of analyze a little better than I can. I don't know all the ins and outs of the goaltending position by any stretch, but I know what I see when I'm looking, and Stoli just looked when he's on his game, and he usually is, he just looks big. He looks square. His angles are good. He doesn't have to like scramble to get into position very often. He just seems to be there, and it seems to be fluid and almost effortless for him. I thought he looked that way much of game one. Sure, there was that one puck where you could have corralled it better and covered it, and it kind of, you made a mistake with it. But I look at it as a positive, because he could have melted down and said, oh my God, like, how could this happen tonight? And then been a little jittery. And what if that happens again? No, he was just like, shit, moved on, started making saves again. Like, he picked up right where he left off. So I almost look at that little fumble as a positive. Like, something happened that wasn't perfect, that could have got him off his game. Didn't happen. He looked solid. He looked fine. D in front of him looked great. Like, the boys look good. You got to do it again, but a lot of positives to take out of there. I can't pick apart anything, man.
I rather my goalie look like that than the one on the other side of the crease. The guy who won the Vezina a couple years ago, but that's Linus Ullmark. That's 6 on 24. I don't think he was awful. I didn't think the Senators were great in front of him, and the Leafs again got to those areas you need to get to in the Stanley Cup playoffs to have success. But numbers are numbers. Ullmark now 3-7-0. In 10 appearances or 10 starts in the Stanley Cup playoffs, 3.82, 877. He's allowed 4 goals or more in 6 of his 10 playoff starts. I expect a better Linus Ullmark in game 2 tonight.
Yeah, I imagine they'll be wanting to throw a lot of pucks at that guy, get him moving, get him thinking, try to beat him. You don't want him to find his game. We know that he has the potential to be a goalie that can goalie you, that can steal a game. He's got that kind of pedigree, but as you mentioned, he hasn't really been able to find it in the playoffs. I just think just keep throwing rubber at this guy, keep him off his game, try to beat him every different way you can. Don't let him find his game. There is a good goalie in there. But again, he's just, I mean, I don't want to jinx it, I guess, but he's not playing his best in the playoffs. And I don't think he was at his best in game 1 on Sunday. There's a couple of those goals where you're like, you remember how we talk about, like, maybe there's those 2 saves that kind of make the difference in keeping the game close, but they go in, it's just deflating. And when the Leafs get up by a few goals there and the 3-goal lead, like, those are those ones right there. And not saying the loss is on his shoulders or anything, but I don't think he played his best. And I imagine he'll be trying to rectify that tonight.
So if you're the Leafs, are you doing anything different from game 1 at all?
I do not think so. I mean, there'll be little micro things. They'll go through video and say, here's a spot. I think that's individual stuff with individual plays. But as far as the message that Craig Berube is going to be giving to them, they're not changing anything drastic. They're not taking a different approach at all. They're reinforcing the stuff that they've talked about all year long, reinforcing the stuff that worked well in game 1, and just trying to repeat that exact same game plan. So no, not a huge change at all. Why would you?
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? And I think obviously the officiating was a big story. We talked about it, and that seems to be the narrative that's coming out of Ottawa, not the fact that you're 3 losses away from your season coming to a conclusion really rapidly here in the first round of the Battle of Ontario in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I wonder about that, and if there'll be some overcompensation or course correction from the officials after what transpired in game 1, where the Maple Leafs got 6 power plays, the Sens got 2. I just wonder about that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's interesting to think about how the Senators are going to react to that. They're the ones that need to make the adjustment, right? I mean, if you go on Twitter, they think it's an absolute conspiracy for the league to help out the Maple Leafs. And there's honestly so many Maple Leafs fans who think there's a conspiracy against them. There is Montreal Canadiens fans who legit think the league is trying to hold them back. There's people in Edmonton. There's 2 5-on-3s last night in their game against Edmonton, and they legit think that there's it's crazy. Every fan base has their doughheads that think that it's actually happening, but it's hockey. They're human. And I know, I think that they deserve to be in the penalty box a lot more than the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think their lack of experience in the playoffs showed. And again, sometimes you get horned up and you go running around, and it's not the 2000s anymore. You can't cross that line as much as you used to be able to. And I thought the Sens just did too much, and they deserved many of those penalties. 1 or 2, maybe it could have gone the other way, and maybe they will tonight. But I'm thinking about the Ottawa Senators. How are you going to react? And it's kind of tough because they almost need to pull back, and that's not really what they're looking for mentally as far as getting a win in game 2. So it's going to be tough for them to sort it out. But the Leafs need to be watching themselves. Watch your sticks, watch the guys' numbers, but still come out and play hard. It's still going to be the playoffs. I want crashing, I want banging, but you just got to use your head a little bit.
14 minors, excuse me, for the Ottawa Senators in the first game of this series, which
sounds crazy, but how many of them were at the very end of the game? They're like 5. So it's a little bit, it's a little bit misleading that stat. But I mean, when you are taking the penalties and the power play is making you pay, it looks bad and it feels bad. And good Lord, those fans are having a rough time accepting that right now.
If I do recall, though, like the Stanley Cup playoffs every year in recent memory, the first couple games, fans are just perturbed. They're going nuts. Like, what is this officiating? And then you adjust, right? But I will say, having watched a lot of the first couple games here in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I hate the bullshit where there's like a scrum after the whistle and the ref's going bonkers, blowing his whistle 17 times, and they just grab one random guy and say, we're going to make an example of you. Dude, it's the fucking Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't want power plays deciding this thing. And so maybe I'm old school in that thought.
No, that drives me nuts too. I remember playing and sometimes you get in a little scrum and you go and you go nose to nose to a guy and get in his ear and let him know what's going to happen if he lets his guard down, and trying to start a couple things and get near the goalie and kind of stir it up a little bit. The crowd likes that. It's fun. And the refs are screaming bloody murder. Sometimes I look over and I'm just like, shut up. Like, I don't need you screaming at me right now. I'm playing the game within the game. I'm doing my job. And it's annoying. And in the playoffs, I love those scrums. I love to see the battles, and we can ask Kaba here coming up, what that's like to play a certain team for a whole series and to get into those battles. And a shutdown guy like him who would have engaged in so many of those battles, especially in the Battle of Ontario, those little scrums are huge for getting under guys' skin, doing little things. And it's so fun to watch that transpire on the television, and the refs are doing everything they can to stop it. I totally agree. I don't want those penalties called. I want hardly anything called, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But we talked to Bill Daly when he was on this show, and he says they call the game the same. It's just more intense. And oftentimes there is more penalties in the playoffs because they try to call the game the same way, and more is on the line and guys are more amped up. So there is going to be penalties. And I would like to see it even every night. I would like to see maybe 2 power plays each team for the entire night would be an ideal game for me. You don't always get that though. And you got to be prepared and know that you have to find that line. The Sens did a piss poor job at it last game. I imagine they'll try to rectify that tonight though.
Yeah, I mean, it leads me to believe that the direction from up top is that they don't want any of the extracurriculars. That's all I can gather. Like, again, they've been doing this a lot throughout the regular season. Now in the playoffs where they just grab one guy. I think it was Caden Gooley last night. He barely did anything. I think, you can speak to this. Guys police themselves in these scrums, man. Like, it just normally ends, when it's over, and then you just move on. But for some reason, they're fixated on grabbing somebody, which leads to a power play. Like, just call real penalties. Like, why are we calling roughing penalties? I think it's so ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it is annoying, and it's a microcosm of the league in general these days. I've been fairly vocal about not loving the way the game is called, and losing the intensity and losing the battle and losing that grit factor that the playoffs is all about. When you're literally putting a team down, like that could be the difference between winning or losing a playoff game, is just one little 2-minute minor that ends up in the back of your neck. So guys are definitely worried about taking that and being that guy. So you pull back a little bit. And I don't think that that's great for the NHL. Like, no one's getting hurt in those scrums. I understand you can't have these Scott Stevens style hits anymore because guys' brains are getting mushed. I get it. But why are you freaking out that guys are chirping off and giving a little face wash here and there? And I mean, that's great to see. That's the intensity that builds the boil factor and kind of gives you that taste of what it was like in the early 2000s, of the hatred and the battles and the game within the game. Everyone loves it and no one's getting hurt. So I also get really annoyed when they call one guy out of that. Like, take them both, give them coincidentals and move on. Like, do that. Who cares? But it's so annoying, man. I wish the guys could do so much more. And it's so fun to watch when that battle level gets real high.
In support of Sick Kids, John Gallagher, thank you so much for the super chat. Rosie, what was the best chirp? Who was the best chirper you heard?
Well, I remember Sean Avery used to give it to Dion pretty bad, but there's lots of different guys that they
What would he talk about with Dion?
well, you know what he talks about with the he was digging on the half wall one time right in front of the bench, and he just completely stopped what he was doing and looked up and looked at Dion and just let him have it right there. And everyone on the bench was dying laughing, like, this guy's out of control. But he is of a different world, that guy. But there's lots of guys that could chirp. Sometimes it was funny, sometimes it was pathetic, sometimes it really pissed you off. But I imagine that in these battles where they are rivalries and they are in interdivisional games, it gets ramped up pretty high out there in the playoffs. It's fun to watch and be a part of, hence why we want the refs to stay out of the way and let all this transpire.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're about 5 minutes away from Thomas Kaberle's first ever appearance here on the show. The core four I thought was really, really good. And another big story in game one, 9 points they combined for. Mitch Marner was great. Matthews, 2 apples. John Tavares scores. Nylander scores. Like, you talk about those boxes, man. A lot of them were checked here in game one, but I want to see more of the same here. Consistency, the word of the day here in game two.
Well, that's what it has to look like, right? The goaltending's better than it has been. The D are shored up better than they have been in the past by a lot, and that has never even really been their problem. You got depth, like that fourth line. Are you kidding me? They were like an offensive zone machine. Scott Lawton, again, like, he's had back-to-back best games as a Maple Leaf so far, and we've talked about since the deadline when we got him, and he didn't have the best start to his Maple Leafs career in the world. Just wait for the playoffs. We know what this guy's capable of. So far, he looks to be on track to do exactly that. But then what's left? What's left after all that stuff is great, and hats off to Tree Living for getting that done, and hats off to Berube for getting those guys all on the same page and playing in a way that produces pretty good hockey. Well, what's left, though? The big boys to score. And I mean, we have talent and ability out our yin yang, and it just doesn't seem to happen in the playoffs in the past with these same players. But Johnny could have had 3 that night. Willie, that's like his spot now, just fading to the right and then gets to the high slot and finds that little corner, whatever it is that opens up for him. Boom, and he nails it. It's like clockwork recently. That's his spot. Austin's feeding. Like, we haven't even seen him pop off yet, but a couple great dishes. Mitch Marner has been playing great. I think everyone's pretty much in agreement that Four Nations, that compete level, and you saw Drew Doughty talk about the fact that I've never played this heavy of hockey, this fast of hockey, this good of hockey, and he's played a lot of good hockey, so that says something. Mitch rose to the top in that thing, and I know people think it's a rinky-dink tournament and don't really put a lot of stock to it, but I mean, the proof's in the pudding. He has been fantastic since that and looked fantastic in game one, so 100%, you got to keep doing it, and it needs more of the same, but all the fears, I guess, that Leafs fans had, even though this team looks really good, I think a lot of them were squashed in the fact that they showed that they can play their best hockey at all times. I mean, they have access to it, and it looked quite good, man. And now consistency is going to be the thing. Can you do it every night?
I mean, it was unique, too, to get the Scotiabank Arena crowd chanting. Like, they're feeling good about life when they're yelling, Brady sucks, Brady sucks. And he said he didn't really give a shit, but I think that's somebody who gives a shit, certainly in that scenario. But I think the crowd helped a lot, too. I think everybody was dialed in, Maple Leaf Square, fired up. I know of one superstar who's going to be in attendance at Maple Leaf Square tonight, so look out for that tonight. He's guested on the show multitude of times, but there's a lot of reasons to be very optimistic, feeling very positive about this team. Even the bottom 6, like, for all the heat Scott Lawton took coming over from Philadelphia, I think he's really, really found his identity finally in the bottom 6. And I thought that was a tone setter of game one, was the fourth line, weirdly enough.
Yeah, big time. People are calling them the third line now because they look so good out there. But it was, I can't remember what period it was, but it was about 4 shifts in a row where I'm like, look at these guys buzzing. And I wasn't sure about Yarn Croak and where he fit into this lineup. And obviously they're not going to change anything, but all the way down the lineup, guys were doing their job. Like, for a fourth line, you need to get that deep. You need to chase it. You need to retrieve it. You need to bang and crash their D and just wreak havoc, and then try to get as much ozone time as you can to keep the momentum, gain the momentum. And, the momentum is what those stars want when you roll back to your first and second line. And they seem to be able to set the table for them all night long. They were really effective. I was worried about Brady Tkachuk and like how he was going to put that team on his back, if he's going to dictate, a lot of the Four Nations type of mentality that they had. Not like you're scrapping off the opening face off, but just setting the tone physically. And you know, one player with a lot of jam can kind of lead the charge and put a team on their heels. I didn't see any of that. I know he's not 100% healthy, but I mean, he was the one guy who I was like, he could be a thorn in our side and kind of ruin the game plan and take control of some games and make it really difficult on the Toronto Maple Leafs. He didn't do that. I didn't think he was effective. I didn't notice him a whole lot out there. It just didn't seem to be the game plan that the Ottawa Senators were trying to lead with. Again, that could absolutely change tonight, but so far so good as far as how everything went. My fears were squashed and what I wanted to see was realized. It was just a really solid game one. And again, I think they're preaching it like crazy. They know, they seem to have the right mentality for it, but you have to do it again tonight.
At the end of the day, I mean, it's one player. We talked about this yesterday. Like, you need, this is not the NBA where one player can carry an entire team. You need a multitude of players if you're the Ottawa Senators across the board, from Sanderson to Stützle to Claude Giroux. I thought a quiet night, to Brady Tkachuk. So, like, if we're zoning in on one guy, I think they're in trouble. But yeah, I thought they did a really good job of limiting time and space and not really letting Brady Tkachuk do his thing. I thought the coaching was a big aspect to game one as well, just the subtle adjustments in game. We saw Pontus Holmberg back on the second line. We talked about Max Domi. Would he stick on that second line, back on the third line? And now it looks like Holmberg's going to start game two, at least on the second line there with Tavares and Nylander. But I do strongly feel this time of year coaching becomes a bigger aspect than it is, say, in the regular season. Would you agree with that?
Well, with the line matching, yeah. I mean, obviously the home ice advantage is that you get last change, so you can see who they get out there, and then you can say, I think this line matches up best against them. And you can put your shutdown D-man against their top line, and you get that advantage, and it's not always easy, and sometimes it's tough to make the decisions. Like, I thought Bobby McMahon might be slated a little bit higher at times with the success that he's had on the second line, but Chief goes a different direction, and I don't question any of it. I think it all worked well, and he's at least got the guts to make a decision and to make a play and to see, I think this, I believe this based on all my experience, and make the change. And it seems to be solid. Like, yeah, I cannot have any issues with what Craig Berube did with the line matching and whatnot. It seems solid, and he's got a lot of good pieces to work with. So it's not like it's an incredibly difficult job, but there's a reason they hired him, and he's got experience doing this. He's gone all the way with it. So you've got a lot of experience in that sense. And so far it's showing.
Yeah, very good. And we're going to try to connect here with Thomas Kaberle, but looking forward to game two here, the Battle of Ontario at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And certainly when you look at that aspect, officiating is going to be something we're going to look at, goaltending, the big boys too. But just if you're the Leafs, continue to play your game. I think Craig Berube did an excellent job. The composure, the business-like atmosphere, the preparation, all the boxes were checked. And I think you let Ottawa come to you. I know the Sens had a lot of shots in that game, but it's about execution too, right?
Yeah, big time. I mean, like you say, empty calories, like the quality. Like, I remember looking at the shots going, it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like Stoley's been getting peppered or like he's been scrambling. It wasn't indicative of the play I saw in front of me. You can give them those empty shots from outside and they can try to throw everything at the net. That's fine. I don't really think it's indicative to high quality scoring chances. And again, when you get the chances, you bury them. And I think that's what was great with the Leafs the other night. The chances they got, like from the first goal to that, Marner's breakaway to Johnny T, jumping on that, and second chances, rebounds, all the rest of it. It was pretty sound. And yeah, that makes all the difference in the world when you're burying on your opportunities.
In support of Sick Kids, Tammy writes in and appreciate the super chat. Tammy, Marner in the Florida series, 3 points. Marner in the Boston series, 3 points. Marner after one game, 3 points. If he keeps up the momentum going, they should be fine. That's a really good point too, man. Just the way the difference in the way he's getting points, going to those dirty areas, but being a difference maker in game one of that was a big story as well, Rosie.
So who'd you say, sorry?
Mitch Marner.
Yeah, he's I've been hard on him in the playoffs, and it's because he hasn't really adapted well to playoff style hockey. I think that he's trying to play on the perimeter, and he wants more space out there, and he doesn't seem to be, his talents can't show when the going kind of gets tough in that playoff atmosphere. And I've been vocal about that. But again, since the Four Nations, he seems to have elevated his game. He seems to up the intensity factor. You can see it on his face, his celebrations. He is into it. I don't know what's changed or if he's just the experience has helped him, but he looks fantastic. He has since Four Nations, and he's leading this team in a lot of ways.
The following interview is brought to you by our friends over at Charm Diamond Centers. Get custom ring building, delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. Charm Diamond Centers is proudly Canadian-owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com. I always laugh when your former teammates come into the room and you guys grin ear to ear. So why don't you lead this interview off, Rosie?
Kaba, long time, buddy. How are you doing? Oh, shit. We got audio problems. Of course.
We'll try to connect with you in a second, Cabby. But Thomas,
now?
yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
How are you, man? Good to see you. Long time.
Good. How are you, man?
I'm good. What are you up to these days?
Just, driving my son around the hockey rinks,
Yes. I know the feeling. Kids sports is out of control these days.
I know. It's a daily business, man. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. It's we really wanted to talk to you, especially when we found out the matchups for this year's playoffs and the Battle of Ontario, which you are no stranger to. What did you think when you found out that news?
Yeah, it was nice to see different than somebody in Boston, obviously. And we had good times playing against them. It was kind of same idea. They were beating us in the regular season, and then we beat them always in the playoffs. So let's hope it's the same case. But it was always nice, rough around the edges, obviously, with Darcy leading the way. We played with him as well, and no, it was nice. We had good teams back then, and the depth was really good. Goalies were amazing, and we had a lot of good character inside the dressing room, and we played for each other, and we came close a couple times.
Cabby, thank you so much for doing this. Do you have a favorite Battle of Ontario memory from your playing days?
It's been so long now. I'm getting old, but probably those overtimes memories were the best. When the game's on the line and every little thing matters. You have to chip it in. There's not much room out there. I just heard you guys speaking about that. Playoff hockey is a little bit different style. The more simple you play, sometimes you get rewarded more, and your goalies needs to be number one. And those overtimes were the good memory, especially when you win those.
Now, I know this isn't the early 2000s, and the league has changed considerably as far as the physicality and intensity factor, but there certainly is a huge bump up when you get to the postseason. What did you notice the most when you went from regular season to a playoff series?
Yeah, I think the intensity, it's, everybody's seems like the energy kicks in even more. Most of the teams obviously trying to play like that the last 20 games of the season, just jump into it and be ready. The referees let go a little bit more than in the regular season, what you can see as well. There's a little bit little small hooks hitting, elbows up, goalies getting punched and stuff. But, that's a part of the hockey. And, the team needs to be ready. And it seems like the boys with the new coach, he got them prepared for the game one, that's for sure. And hopefully it continues that way. Right from the game, right from the start, they were ready. They got the lead. They had a good power play. Goalie played well. So you can ask any better start for the Leafs than like they played a couple days ago.
Yeah, that was the most noticeable thing for me, at least, was like the preparation, taking nothing away from like Sheldon Keefe or anything or he did. But I just thought the team was really, really prepared in game one. What impressed you the most about that outing?
I feel the Leafs playing this time around, they play a lot better defensively, even in the regular season. They're not winning games 7-5 or 8-6, which doesn't work in the playoffs. And as long as everyone stays healthy, the top six play really well. But from my experience, especially from Boston, winning the Stanley Cup the line 3 and 4 means a lot as well. No one really talks about those guys, but they, especially then, they made a big difference in the game in the round 3 and 4. They delivered. They got the intensity there. They're hitting the big guys, the skill guys, and at the end you wear them down and you find a way to win the game 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm. You were talking about Craig Berube and preparing the team for the playoffs. You played for Pat Quinn, pretty legendary coach. What do you remember about his coaching style?
Yeah, I think he was my best coach ever. I believe. Looking back, even starting in Czech and then playing in NHL, he was old school coach. Played the game, so he knew how we feel sometimes in the dressing room. You have a bad game. He'll never step on you in front of the media guys. He always back you down. He'll talk to you in person or anything, but he will never leak in the media or anything if something's not going your way. I think that was a really good style of him, and all the guys loved him. And you play for a coach like that. You wanna win as a team, obviously, but you really wanna play for a coach like that.
Cabby, what happens behind the scenes in the Stanley Cup playoffs? I mean, everybody knows the objective. Does the coach say much game to game, or do the players just know what's going on?
Yeah, the players know, but every coach has a different mentality how to prepare the players. You have to talk to different, like the young guys, you talk to differently than the veteran guys, and you just have to feel it out. And but at the end, you don't really need, coach doesn't need to let you know it's a playoff hockey and the whole city goes nuts. You see the atmosphere, and it's totally different hockey than regular season.
We were talking before you got on, the Sens fans are basically having a meltdown about the officiating in game 1. What did you see from your side? Was Ottawa just coming out a little bit too horny and kind of lost the control of where the line was, or did you think the officiating was that bad?
No, like I said, to be honest, I haven't seen most of the game. I was on vacation with my family, so I saw the start of the game and a little bit of at the end. So, but from what I hear, it's on the line, and they get a little overexcited. I think sometimes you get a little intensity and a lot of energy. The first round is always heavy hitters. And then you have to feel it out, the referees, what they let go, what they don't let go. I think the officiating was good for both sides, and we can score on power play. So as long as Ottawa can do this, then we'll be happy. Obviously, our power play was unbelievable. Like I said, goalie was playing well, 5-on-5. Everything was going the right way, and like I said, there'll be some controversy about refereeing every game here and there, but that's just part of the game. No one really talks about it when it's all said and done. You're gonna have some bruises. Guys gonna be playing hurt, and you're gonna see it, especially deeper in the playoffs.
We talked about a checklist, and you talked about the fact that you did climb the summit with the Boston Bruins and won the Stanley Cup. What's your view from 4,000 feet or so with the Toronto Maple Leafs? Is this team good enough to go on a deep run this spring?
Yeah, I thought they've been really good the regular seasons last few years, not just this year. But what I noticed, the difference this year was more the defensive minded game, even already starting the regular season with the new coach. I think that was the big difference what I noticed throughout the whole year, and the games I went to see myself, and that's a big adjustment, especially for the playoffs. They can win games 3-1, 2-0. We haven't seen those games in past playoffs or past seasons. There was mind open game, like up and down, and the games were high scores. But like we said, you can get killed in the playoffs playing that way.
Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned you're chasing kids around and you're probably sitting in hockey rinks too much this time of year, but any plans to get down to Scotiabank and catch one of these playoff matchups?
Yes, I was gonna try to go today, but again, my son's trials got in the way. So we'll see if there's a game 5. Then it would be nice to see the boys play again live. That's the building goes alive, and it's a great atmosphere, even playing and now as a spectator.
Lastly, Cabby, you're an absolute legend in these parts, and we appreciate your time today. But if you were in the room before Game 2, what's the one message you'd share with this team looking forward to Game 2 tonight?
No, just keep it the same way. There's going to be some bumps along the way, but just be positive. And I think they've been doing it. Not all the time it's going to go your way, or there's going to be some bad calls, but you just don't go down on yourself and believe yourself, and good things will happen.
Wicked, Cabby. Thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate this. Enjoy the rest of the series, okay?
Thanks, boys. Have a
Thanks,
good day.
Cab. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
ciao.
Take care. What an absolute beauty. That was awesome.
See, don't change anything. Same type of thing, man. Yeah, it's not, I don't know, everyone tries to kind of figure out what's this magic potion, or what are they going to say or do that's going to, it's like, it's not a secret really. It's a formula that works, and it's just difficult to pull off all the time. It's, you got 20 people playing, and you kind of need them to all work together, and you need that synergy and that chemistry. It's tough, but there's a way to do it. And when you find it, you don't really change anything. So I can't imagine anyone's trying to reinvent the wheel in the Toronto Maple Leafs locker room this morning.
Definitely not. And very thankful to Thomas Kaberle for coming on. That obviously is a very memorable Toronto Maple Leaf dating back to that day. Just looking at the Ottawa Senators in their morning skate, Ridley Gregg and Nick Jensen, each not on the ice for the morning skate, but you're not sure what that means. Travis Hamonic and Nick Cousins taking rushes. So that'd be interesting, man, if Gregg comes out and Cousins comes in.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know if I took the option or something's bugging him, or if he's out. No idea. And I think it's harder and harder to put stock into that little stuff as the series goes on, because these guys are gonna take more and more, personal outlooks on what they want to do game day, whether they want to be on the ice or not. And then you might need a Nick Cousins to jump in the line rush just to be a place filler, or maybe he's playing. I don't know, but we will find out sooner than later. And again, I don't think it changes anything for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, everything looks the same, by the way, from the Maple Leafs perspective. No Pacioretty again, no Camp. Were you stunned that all of those guys didn't get in to start the series?
I wouldn't say stunned. I wasn't sure. Like the bottom six, there's a couple different options. I like certain combinations, but sometimes that takes away from something else that works. It's kind of a difficult one. I think Craig Berube, I didn't mind what he did at all. And I like that he was, upfront about it. He goes, I'm not changing it because these are the guys that got us here. I think they've earned a spot in the lineup, and I like them in these certain situations. So I'm going to keep it that way. And the run that the Leafs were on to finish the regular season, again, it makes sense not to really change anything. So he's got other bullets in the chamber if he needs to make a decision or make a change, or something needs to be updated. But as for right now, I get why he's rolling with what works.
Patrick G. Mafia writes in, OEL was a great pickup. Yeah, I love that. Friend of the show, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, scores the first goal of that series. And the great thing is like the DNA of some of the newcomers all over the first victory of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which is awesome. From Tanev to OEL, Lawton picks up the apple on the first goal. OEL picks up the first goal. Lorenz played a really, really good game. And it's just so encouraging, not to mention Stolar's in between the pipes too.
Yeah, they've got layers, man. They've got layers, and it's heavy layers. Like you go up to the big boys. I mean, Willie is so capable. John Tavares, the season that he's having, he's playing some of the best hockey of his life, if you can believe that, at 34 years old. Austin Matthews, like, we know what his ceiling is. Mitch Marner is having a season, and it looks very likely and probable that he can translate that into the playoffs. Stoli, our back end, the new additions, the depth of it. There's lots going on for this team. I've been pretty high on them for a while. I was trying to rally the troops before the playoffs, saying, hey, we are in a really good place. Let's enjoy this. Let's be positive. Let's be happy that we have a team that, I mean, you can't really tear it apart in too many ways. Other teams have holes left, right, and center. And yeah, but like some teams that are like talked more highly about winning the Stanley Cup have horrendous goaltending. And I'm sitting here going, why is no one thinking that that's a problem? Like, look at where the Maple Leafs are. They're in such a great spot to do something. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but hell, enjoy the ride and where this team is, because it took a long time to build this to where it is right now. And we get to sit back and hopefully see all that work come to fruition.
Want to get in on the action for Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365? They got you, by the way. I've been fighting a cold for a week, so my apologies. I know somebody chirped me in the chat about smoking a pack of darts before the show. I did not. I just can't get rid of this cold. From game props, player props, totals, and the money line. You could even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs, must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. I am playing an Austin Matthews anytime goal tonight.
You stole it from me. I like that too. I don't see why not. He kind of missed on the party from scoring for the big boys, even though he was in on it in 2 apples. That's great, but I could see him getting on the board in a big way. I also want to take the under. I think Ullmark's going to be a little better tonight, and I think Stoley's going to pick up right where he's been all season long, and I think it's the goals are going to be a little tougher to come by tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe you take a sniff at the under. I think it's going to be a better defensive effort from the Ottawa Senators. I think the goaltending, if you want to play some saves props as well. And got to mention as well, we're going to be down at Greta Bar YYZ. Make sure to check us out if you want to see us in person. Me and Zach Phillips will have some pregame coverage starting at 6:30 Eastern time. And Zach, of course, will have TLN After Dark following Game 2, where Jay Rosehill, among others, is going to drop by the show. I love that.
Yeah, buddy, excited. Hopefully the same vibes are happening as we're on Sunday.
Yes, sir. And so we look forward to Game 2 here, the Battle of Ontario. Thank you to Thomas Kaberle for dropping by. We're going to continue the good vibes coming up tomorrow. I got another former Toronto Maple Leaf, Alan McCauley, is going to drop by tomorrow's show. Nice little plug, bottom 6 guy from the Pat Quinn era. And we can talk some Scott Lawton with him as well, because I know Alan works for the Philadelphia Flyers. So that would be a lot of fun coming up tomorrow. So we'll talk then, Rosie.
Love it. Looking forward to it. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. We'll see you afterwards.
Sounds good. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. Talk tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.